how you can support your local unions, eagles who attack drones, and the Peasants' Revolt of 1381 today on Good Work.
Hello, workers of the world. Welcome to Good Work, a round-table discussion about the world of working. Working is a major part of our lives, so we should talk about it. I'm James Mastriani.
I'm Matt Newell.
And I'm Jake Lloyd Bacon, and we are not journalists nor educators. We're simply a bunch of LA performer types, comedians, writers, actors, and more, with an interest in labor. So take that information and
Curious.
and put it in your pipe.
We're labor curious.
Labor curious.
Oh,
labor curious.
Labor curious. How's everybody?
Are you asking the listeners or us?
I'm asking the people who can fucking respond right now. You two.
I'm great. How are you, Matt?
I'm good.
That's nice.
I'm good. How are you, James?
I'm good, man.
How was your week since our last episode?
This is the greatest week of my life.
Wow.
Since the last episode.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Your short life.
What happened
yeah.
specifically with details?
All the things that happen are the same things that happen every single week. It's just the way I've framed it in my mind. Now that I'm trying to think about my last
your
week.
outlook.
It's just the outlook.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh,
Every week is the greatest week of my life.
It's almost as if we record these back to back. Let's go to the news from the chief. Yeah. We're going to start off with Starbucks this week.
Quite.
We'll start off with a quote from an article from the chief. It definitely is a frustrating aspect of our jobs that Starbucks is marketing themselves as being an ethical company while we're being pretty ruthlessly exploited, said Jacob Welsh, a shift supervisor and union organizer at the Bloomfield Starbucks in Pittsburgh. More than 230 Starbucks locations have unionized since workers at the Buffalo store, which was the first stored one that we've chatted about many times. Since then, the Bloomfield location won its election last April. Well, we started talking about unionizing immediately when Buffalo filed, but it was almost jokingly, Welsh said during a recent phone interview, but then it got really real once Buffalo won. So first off, I like hearing this, that Buffalo was sort of like the shot heard around the Starbucks, where other companies or other...
Buffalo.
Oh,
Yeah.
Buffalo.
You heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Said 9 buffaloes?
So yes, of course, there's a lot of high-profile organizing happening, these campaigns at Amazon warehouses and Starbucks across the country, which in a way have revitalized the labor movement. For workers organizing at those behemoth companies, though, it's been an uphill battle. Amazon unsuccessfully attempted to overturn the results of the election for its JFK 8 facility on Staten Island and has yet to negotiate a contract. Last month, Starbucks asked the National Labor Relations Board to temporarily suspend elections at all of its stores. The NLRB has filed more than 20 complaints against Starbucks. NLRB,
National Labor Board, National Labor something board.
National League
Rifle Board.
of...
So yeah, they've filed
What
more
is
than
the
20
R?
complaints, which include allegations that the company withheld raises for all the unionized stores, which we kind of talked about. They were giving benefits to non-unionized
Yeah.
stores previously. And New York City filed a lawsuit accusing Starbucks of illegally firing union organizers in Queens. So essentially, this article here is just about customer support being the key. Essentially, that customers need to be on the sides of the
Yes,
unions.
always. Everywhere, in every situation.
Yep.
That's the right person.
And so
Just remember that, okay?
Yeah.
No matter what, there's no nuance here. Unions are right, corporations are bad.
No
So,
nuance.
While companies like Amazon and Starbucks remain intent on thwarting unionizing efforts, support for labor unions is at its highest since
Hell yeah.
1965, according to Gallup's annual Work and
Oh, yeah.
Education Survey, which we talked
Yeah,
about a couple weeks ago.
there it is.
Quote, I think it's a part of our strategy is to leverage public support for unions, Welsh said. I think it's important that Starbucks knows that customers are on our side. I mean, and I can't agree with this more. I think that whether it's, choosing to shop at unionized only facilities or making your voice public on whatever platform you may have via social media. The one thing that I do really think interesting about this article that stood out to me is that Welsh and other organizers who were listed ask customers to not boycott stores. They say that personally boycotting stores doesn't do very much. It's a small drop in the bucket for Starbucks profit, and it's not going to move the needle as far as Starbucks and like, oh, this store didn't make any money. It doesn't matter. They don't look at per store profit as much as they look at regional and higher. So I thought that was interesting.
So what is the what did they suggest to do instead of that? Because I don't go to Starbucks now. Should I start going?
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell.
Well, at least this from the person being interviewed, Welsh here says the best way for customers to back unionizing workers is to be vocal on social media, to show up in person to union events, presence in union events.
Okay.
If you know that there's a whether it's a protest or actual strike with a picket line itself, like be there physically to show support. That's a big deal. And of course, to shop exclusively in unionized stores. If those union stores start doing bad, the company has an excuse to shut them down, he says, in quote. So ironically, whereas like, don't boycott a store because then they'll just, then they won't care. But if you specifically make a store that's unionized, not financially successful, then Starbucks will be like, oh, well, guess we have to shut the store down with this union and move it to across the street as a new store in a year.
Yeah, that's much safer.
Right, yeah.
We're moving from this dangerous neighborhood here, and we move across the street to the safe neighborhood.
Right, yeah.
Fucking stuff. Man, they all suck, dude.
Yeah.
So hard. It's so hard to be a consumer.
Yeah.
Ethical consumerism's tough.
There's no, it doesn't even exist in a capitalist society. It's impossible. You'd have, you know what I mean? Like you'd have to like,
but
I don't even know what
I think this is good though. I again, one of the reasons why this article stood out to me was because of that, was because there's actual information here from a union worker who is dealing with union busting and dealing with problems from the corporation that he shows up and gives his body to for 40 plus hours a week, telling you this is how me personally feels like you can help. Because a lot of us, I mean, the three of us don't work normal, traditional, full-time jobs. We're not, and so like, in order to practice what we preach, I think this is a good thing. Using any platform you have, be vocal on social media, show support. And even if you don't necessarily tweet and use stuff, sign up for Twitter and go follow Starbucks Workers United. Go follow these companies, not companies, the unions specifically. Show support in numbers somehow, and then of course in person. I like hearing that
because it's also social media sucks.
Right, it's
also
also
bad. I got off it all before my own
for your mental health.
So what? I got to get out there.
But here's the thing: is
I
like
got to get out there.
You can also follow them and never open your social media. You know what I mean? Like you can also provide that one additional number.
I deleted my Twitter.
I noticed. It's fun tagging
and
you.
I thought I had a year.
Hashtag.
I thought I had a year to like check back because I have my own.
Oh, you lost it.
And it was only because my wife also got off Twitter, and she was like, "Oh, you got a year." I was like, "Oh, cool." So I did it too, and it's like, "You're sure?" I was like, "Yeah," and deleted it. And then, but because she has a check mark, she has a year to decide whether she wants.
Right.
So I can't even like people send me tweets.
Oh, at your old Twitter handle,
or just like text me like this is a funny thing, and I can open it, and I can't, and it's just like re-sign up for Twitter. But I mean, you're
probably better off mentally. You're better off mentally. It's it's frustrating. But
I'm on that Discord though.
The Discord, you gotta go to the Discord.
I checked it,
dude. I almost checked it recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I almost. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Almost. Thank you.
Oh my
Taking
goodness.
steps.
I have a feeling after last week's episode, the main course talking about what capitalism, I have a feeling that Discord's gonna be buzzing with ideas.
I can't even remember that episode.
So long ago.
So long ago.
What a week.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, just while we're talking about little things in the news and that sort of stuff, and it is kind of piggybacking off of last week's episode, which I barely remember. There's this great tweet that I found that I just want to.
Oh, great! I won't be
Speaking
able to
of Twitter,
read. Matt can't read it.
What are you guys looking at?
It's not for you. Only in the club.
Oh.
Capitalism incentivizes cruelty and selfishness And then capitalists tell us that socialism can't work because humans are naturally cruel and
Wow.
selfish.
That's
The
well put.
Hold on, gets better. The human nature argument is such obvious bullshit if you think about it for 2 seconds. The free market mythology argues that the most ruthless, selfish, opportunistic, greedy, and calculating plunderers applying the most heartless measures in cold-blooded pursuit of corporate interests will produce the best results for all of us.
Wow.
That makes no sense.
Right. And especially if the
What?
argument is, well, people are bad, so we
Yeah.
can't have socialism.
Yeah.
You know, just last night, a week ago, Alexandra and I were doing the superfan rewatch of The Office, where they have like the extended
Yeah.
episodes on
Yeah.
NBC. Last night, we watched the episode where Michael and Dwight go to that small paper company and then
They steal all their clients.
steal the clients. And
And they have it-
and Michael has like the existential crisis, and he comes back in the office, and everybody, including characters that we generally like Oscar, and like they all say like, yeah, it's just business. It's just business. This is just
Right.
what business is.
It's just business.
And I feel like that's really poignant for
Yeah.
this, because it is even the good people in
Yeah.
the managerial class who are only working in the best interests of their corporate superiors. In this instance, Mr. Wallace, whatever his name was, David
Yeah.
Wallace in the
Yeah.
corporate. Like these fictional characters, this story is actually a good representation of this in pop culture.
Put the knife down.
I
Where did that
didn't-
come from?
I
Where did
didn't
that-
notice.
Jake is holding a knife, and he's
Jake's-
slowly been unflipping it or flipping it out
Matt is
as
not
he
lying.
talks.
So
I'm not lying. I do a lot of bits,
I am.
and I say he's doing things that he's not doing. But this
I
time
am-
he had a knife.
I am like a.
He did.
I'm a fidgeter. I even have like fidget spinners on my desk. Like
Love
I
it.
always have to do something with my hands, and I happen to have a pocket knife, and
now
I'm just.
he's twirling a revolver.
You guys better watch.
He's twirling a revolver.
Don't worry, there's only one bullet.
Oh God! Is it my turn?
That's so
I
funny.
didn't realize I was doing that. I'm so sorry. That was so menacing. Anyways, yes,
It is.
to the
It is
point where
fucked
it's-
up though, right? Like
yeah,
it's
that's
like
a good example.
our,
of this.
all our ruling class tells us basically all people are bad, and that's why
Yeah,
we
I
have to
know.
do this bullshit.
What's the same? I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, but with religion, it's the same like argument for having religion. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we without God, we would just be fucking
We'd be
eating
bad people.
Yeah, we would
Right.
there'd be no laws, we have no morals.
Right.
It's like, no, I don't believe in God.
right.
I bet you we wouldn't. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never
I
had
mean, more
any
people have been killed in
issues.
the name of a god than they have.
Yeah,
I know,
Totally.
I know. But so
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
It
I
is
agree.
pretty, yeah. And it's like, oh, I guess we're just supposed to trust the really rich people
Right.
that rule us, that are
They got our
telling
best
us.
interests.
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Can you-
It'll produce the best results for all of us, everybody.
Where did this tweet come from? Was this something that somebody on Twitter stated, or was this something that they copy and pasted?
Well, it both. Half of it was so part of it was a tweet somebody put at Killer Gorilla.
Uh-oh.
like the
I know.
animal
Some
gorilla.
people are looking
No,
for
like-
some people are
like
looking for him.
Yeah, yeah,
Guerrilla
yeah.
marketing.
Guerrilla marketing,
Okay,
yeah.
right.
And
Guerrilla.
then they posted a quote by Michael Parenti, who is a big time socialist speaker and personality over the last like 50 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just threw a.
So I just wanted to share
kill the
that
gorilla.
because part of last week we talked about whether or not it was human nature to be capitalist, and I don't know.
Yeah, I do think that it is that if there is a what do they call it's straw man and stone man? Is that what they call those sort of like an argument
Straw
for
man
debate?
argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a real stone man argument
Yeah.
for socialism.
Totally.
What
at least-
is that? I know straw man. I don't know.
I think it's the
stone man.
opposite, meaning like you can't. It's there's no debate in return. Like where a straw man argument is like
Oh.
something that you can really easily see through.
Right.
The straw man
Ah.
argument in this is their argument that you need capitalism.
Yeah.
Because that's a straw man argument. Whereas since capitalism breeds the benefits of the worst of us,
Yeah.
that essentially is sort
I
of
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's really difficult because at some point, like public opinion needs to shift so great. I think the needle has moved. Like socialism, it's like such a bad word to so many people, and they don't quite understand
Right.
exactly what it is. Like
Totally.
you mentioned last week, and one day we'll do we should dedicate an entire episode, no news, just a whole hour to like what exactly socialism is and in practice.
Dude, I would love to.
Because-
I'm so down to do that.
Yeah, because I do think that there are things that even I'm not a person who's like socialism bad.
Yeah.
But I also know that like I don't quite get
Yeah.
the finer details of it.
Yeah.
I consider myself a democratic socialist in the sense that every person who labels themselves a democratic socialist, I tend to agree with their ideals and
Right.
ideas.
Yeah.
Therefore, I
Right.
go, you are that thing, I must be that thing. But I'm
Mm.
sure that there's a lot of holes that, in my education of it that I'd love to.
Yeah.
to
I mean,
dive
a
into.
democratic socialist is basically a revolutionary position, but the
Right.
idea is that we get to socialism through electoral politics,
Right.
through elections and such. And some people just disagree with that.
Sure. And
But now what? We can't trust our elections.
I mean,
That's the
those
what
voting
they're-
machines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's what that's
Oh, right. Of course. Yeah.
they're legitimately like making us question
100%.
everything.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is fascism
Absolutely.
--
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing.
Absolutely.
All of this is illegitimate. But
I love that idea. For our next episode, let's do that because I would love to talk about what it means to be reformist versus revolutionary on the left, because I think people think Democrats are revolutionary. They're not. They're reformist. Like,
Right.
I think it'd be
Right.
great to talk
Yeah,
about all that.
Can we do that
everyone
next
thinks
week?
they're revolutionary, but they're reformist.
They're
Everyone
reformist.
thinks that.
Everyone thinks that.
Can we plan that next week? You think
Yep.
we can put that on the books?
I'll put it on the books.
Oh
I
my
could definitely
god,
do
you
that.
guys! Now this is legitimately next. Well, it'll be
Yes.
2 weeks. Shh,
You're confusing them.
Quitting,
Oh no, this is a time slip.
Oh, time slip. Listen, before we started the podcast today, I was getting a little pissed off.
You're a
Hey,
little.
you know what? I'm gonna just start this. You got this thing ready?
Oh wait, which one?
Employee of the month.
Oh
baby.
wait, yeah, I got it ready. Okay, it's
Okay.
coming.
All right. We got I know it's only been a week and a half since our last employee of the month, but we got a new employee of the month. Employee of the month.
It's
Fuck yeah!
It's October. It's a new month.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is October. That's right.
Whew.
Ooh, what a so spooky out.
Yeah.
I got woken up. I'm gonna give a little preamble to this employee of the month. I got woken
Please
up
do.
at 3:30 in the morning. My dog barking in the living room. We had our windows open because it was a nice, cool night. And I was like, "What is she barking at?" She's barking. There's a guy on the street with a drone, just drunk, I think, droning, and it's going. Bzzz.
Yeah, just like a loud.
There's like 6 or 7 dogs barking on the block. from
How
this.
big is the drone? Is it one of those little
It's
tiny
a little
consumer
one. Yeah,
ones?
it's
But
a
still
consumer
loud.
drone.
Still
Yeah,
loud.
it's not like a military drone. or
Well, no,
anything.
like because some of
No.
them are larger. Like
Oh,
even the
it was
consumer ones are pretty big.
Two frisbees,
Right.
Maybe 2 frisbees.
Right.
Yeah, like that.
Matt does measure everything in frisbees.
That's how I measure everything. It's the. I think we're moving towards the frisbee
Metric system?
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
or
I'm
the-
like
yeah.
6.2 frisbees tall nowadays.
So he's like, and I'm like 3:30 in the morning, and at
That's
that
rough.
moment, I really wished I had an eagle to attack the drone. Like,
And
'cause I remember
why?
seeing a video.
Not like a gun of some sort. Not
I don't want
something
a gun.
that
I'm against guns.
not even like a
Like a net gun would be awesome.
Yeah,
but I don't want him to know
That gun's
where
cool.
it came from. I don't want to
Right.
be. I don't have to get out. I just want to let the
got to be
eagle
from the
loose.
shadows, like a video game, Sniper Elite.
Yeah, I just want to go fly, and then the eagle just takes it down because I think that's also more impressive, and it'll maybe.
Okay.
Mm.
So this guy's like out there buzzing this thing, and then made me think of those eagles. Do you guys remember those?
Yeah.
I did not. This is the
I knew
news,
it, yeah.
news to me.
I went down a little rabbit hole. This is a few years ago, but there was some,
Or you went down an eagle
I
hole.
went down an eagle hole, and which is a golf term, I think.
An eagle hole.
I just shot an eagle hole.
Yeah.
I thought you were against guns.
I am. I use only golf clubs. So I did a little. I was trying to show Jake about these eagles that they train to take down drones, and they're badass.
This is insane to me and also amazing.
There are these giant golden eagles in France and in
Deutschland? No, what did you say it was?
Dutch. Deutschland.
Wait, what's
Germany?
Dutch?
That's
Germany.
like-
No, yeah. What?
Dutch is Holland,
Holland. Sure,
Yeah.
sure,
right?
sure.
That or is that the Netherlands? I always fuck it up.
I think it's the Netherlands, but
Holland
Holland is a part.
big region.
It's a
of the
big
Netherlands.
region of
and the
Netherlands.
Dutch are
yeah.
from there. Okay.
I think so.
But it's their military and it was their police, which I was a little annoyed at because I thought it was a private citizen. I remembered it.
Right.
So I did a little more of a deep dive and I saw that. So right now, the Eagle's the employee of the month.
Okay.
Okay, that's
all
what that's,
eagles.
Yeah,
all eagles who
the
hunt.
eagles who hunt drones.
Yes, love this.
There's one eagle who was not the employee of the month. It attacked a little girl who was dressed like a drone.
Wait, dressed like. I don't understand. Wait, hang on.
She wasn't in a drone costume, but she was wearing all white. She was at a picnic in France, and I think a drone or an eagle thought she would look like a drone.
But here's the thing.
and
is
like
this-
she's fine.
Okay,
Everybody,
she survived.
This is like
but
a few years ago too.
did
so-
the was this an eagle who was previously trained and released to attack a drone at that time?
Oh, you think it was applying for a job? It was trying to get a job as a G?
Trying to show you how good I am. No,
Well,
but I'm
I
trying
can
to say,
do it too, boss.
like, I guess the question I'm saying is there like a drone flying in the air and the eagle sees the little
I don't
girl
know
and
if
goes,
this was-
I'm going for it.
or if this eagle was escaped from its aviary.
Sure, yeah.
Atrium.
Yeah, Deutschland.
Aquarium. Yeah, so I didn't really, I just looked at a bunch of headlines, which is what this show is.
I mean, that is
right.
I mean, there is something to the ingenuity of being like, well, we have a drone problem. There's like people private drones. There's people flying drones over areas where military. Because I did
3:30 in the morning,
like you
making
said,
my dog bark.
well, sure, but you said one of them was also military, right? Some was police and some was military.
The French military was using them to attack like terrorist drones.
Right. I mean, that is
fucking awesome.
But the ingenuity of them being like, you know what we should get? Giant birds.
You know
to
what
play.
else? But we've used this in the past. We've used, just Alexander the Great using elephants, obviously.
Sure, of course.
But also, like to intimidate the
Right.
the-
Yeah.
that was a big thing. But they've
Rhinos.
they strapped bombs to dolphins. I think the Russians did that, and they were like maybe like
trying to make the dolphins blow
Dolphins
ships and stuff.
yeah, it's crazy,
That was
right?
not
The
that
dolphin
was,
stuff is crazy that
Yeah.
Russia does too.
Right? Have you heard? That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we use
It's-
these animals to
I
animals are fucking.
Well, you're the
amazing.
one that
Badass.
told me too about what dressage is with horses.
Yeah. the
Oh
way
yeah,
that-
my wife's mom does dressage, and it comes from war. Because it just looks
Right.
like they're like crip walking.
Yeah,
or
it looks like
whatever.
they're
They're like side dancing and shit.
Pop
but
it
it's
like
used
it's
to like step
hot.
over landmines or barbed wire to move laterally and
Right.
to like hop over
right, to terrain and just to
dead bodies.
Sure.
I think we all saw War Horse.
Yeah.
Opening day, right? We all saw
Spielberg's
it?
best.
Yeah.
It's
Everybody
best
always
movie,
says
only
that.
movie I've ever seen of his, and he's
Yeah.
my favorite director.
Starring
Same.
Robert De Niro as the war horse. I'm crip walking here.
Yeah.
No, we're not De Niro fans here. Remember that?
Yeah.
He's
That's what I'm referencing.
Anti-union.
And that was actually a Dustin Hoffman quote, but
So my employee of the month is that eagle, but not the one.
Hell
that
yeah.
attacked the little
I
girl.
guess the point I was trying to make was I love that this is where it went. It's like you're the military. One would assume you had weaponry and technology.
There's no weapons as cool as animals. Animals
Boom.
like bees shouldn't fly. Like we can't make things fly like bees.
Right, yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like they just quarks. I don't know.
if I'm trying to think of like what would be, I mean, eagles are really cool, but I'm trying to think of like if an opposing military,
What would be the scariest?
what would be the scariest if you thought, and I think I have my answer. If you
the
saw,
scariest? Now, what kind of battle are we talking?
I think we're talking, that's a good question. Let's go land.
Land battle.
Let's go a land battle.
No mountains. No
Desert, forest, urban. Those are your three options.
Not
Ooh.
urban would be crazy with this animal I'm thinking of. Let's go with like a rural rural fighting. I guess flat
Okay.
land.
Okay,
type of
so
thing.
Nebraska.
Grass.
Yeah, like
in the
in
middle
Nebraska.
of Nebraska, we're
Yeah.
at
Trees.
war.
Okay, love it.
Okay, I'm gonna say fucking tigers.
Tigers would be pretty crazy.
Especially
the
if
grasslands, they're hidden.
Yeah, that's true.
They blend in.
especially if they're aided in some way by like technology or something where they have like armored vests on with like,
Oh, like He-Man's Thundercat, like Battle Cat, like Battle Cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Would they have like a
Yeah.
helmet and shit? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go-
That would
like
be
Knight's
nuts.
horses used to have.
just for the sake of a different answer, since we all get one because those are the rules of the
Yeah.
game, I'm gonna go bears.
I almost said bear.
I'm gonna go bears.
Bears
with,
are so
with-
scary.
with helmets.
Bears are good.
Bears with helmets.
You can ride a bear.
Yeah, you could ride a bear. I guess my only thing with bears though is I feel like they'd be a big target to shoot. Like they're
but you know what?
pretty
They're
huge.
Sure, but when they're on fours and we're talking high grass, maybe like
Yeah, that's true.
They're not necessarily as good hunters as a tiger
A
would
tiger
be.
would be really
but-
tough to shoot.
but the
Bears
bear is a
can
visual.
run faster than a horse, though. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
know
Yeah,
that.
they can
Oh, wait.
outrun a horse, and they chase down like deer.
Right? Yeah.
I've seen them chase down caribou videos. They're so fast.
I will say, I do think that while they might be a larger target, they're going to be also a more of a brain fuck when you see it. You're going to go, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
And
And
bears,
Oh,
the
man.
bear's got shoulder-mounted guns.
Yeah. Oh, they have guns. Oh yeah. All right. What's yours, James?
Okay, so I have two.
Oh no.
But let me explain
You
the
pick
difference.
one.
Let me
and-
explain.
You're that
The
guy on
first
Twitter.
the first one would be like along the same lines, which is like a big scary animal, which would be a Komodo dragon.
What?
I think would be like
God,
one
there's-
bite.
Oh, I know.
You're
The-
done.
The venom. The
Yeah.
venom
Yeah,
in
but
their tongue.
not right away.
But still,
But
like
you're still
gonna,
killing. You want instant death if you're killing a soldier.
Also, they're
because
gonna.
then they're
okay.
fighting people off.
They're gonna
they
kill
got
the
gangrene.
dragon.
Who cares? But like they'll be dead in a week.
Yeah.
But they're like
gangrene.
killing. You know
They
what I
can-
mean? So
yeah.
you gotta get them. You gotta take their head off with a bear swipe or a tiger swipe.
Okay, well then here's my other alternative.
All right.
What about those fucking crazy, painful ants that live in the like
Oh my god,
Amazon?
You are not in
Like,
charge of this
if,
army.
If you could control billions of ants,
There's more ants on Earth than there are ants in the universe. I don't know if that's true. I heard some statistic. There's more ants than there are there's.
Like life form? What, you
There's-
said ants in the universe, which I
I was
assume is
joking.
zero.
I was joking about that. I was just trying to because I couldn't remember.
than stars?
Ooh.
More
yeah.
ants than stars?
That can't be.
We need to
I think
get
you guys
Neil
are
deGrasse
sleeping on
Tyson
ants.
this.
I think you're sleeping on these
Can I
giant
say-
ants.
All right, can I say this is sidebar on the sidebar of the sidebar?
Yeah.
As we all know, I'm a D&D nerd.
Yeah.
And
Grains of sand. I found it.
Grains of sand.
There's more ants than there are grains of sand.
Imagine
okay.
if you could control all
No,
those ants
so,
to go and like attack a
listeners,
bunch of soldiers.
if you're listening to this and you're a fan of weird radio dramas and D&D, you can listen to Dungeons and Dragon Wagon, available now on Dragon Wagon Radio, our D&D show in which my
Nice.
character was tasked with choosing between a familiar of a rabbit, a squirrel, or an ant. And after I chose my squirrel, because I thought it would be cute and funny to talk to a squirrel, I was told by the DM, if you would have had the ant, you would have been able to control all ants. And I thought to myself, okay, you know what? Tactically, that's pretty badass.
there you go.
So
This
I
should be a Marvel movie.
This episode of Good Work is brought to you in part by The Chief, a New York City-based newspaper focused on municipal government, civil servants, and the important issues affecting New York State and federal employees. Visit thechiefleader.com, where you can subscribe for as little as $2.75 a month.
In the mid-1960s, the world's smartest TV producers brought together 4 young musicians to create a TV show that was years ahead of its time. I'm talking, of course, about the Monkees. And you, comedy, music, pop culture nerd, probably love the show, but don't realize it. That's why I, Monkees superfan Takuro McCullough, sit down with a variety of guests to watch every Monkees episode and discuss their glory on the Monkees podcast. Whether you're already a fan or have never seen an episode, the Monkees podcast is for you, as we discuss the Monkees phenomenon, hilarious antics, and deep fandom. So check it out at monkeespodcast.com, that's PAWDCAST, or wherever podcasts are found.
Welcome back, workers. Welcome back. So for the second segment here, I thought it might be fun. We have a couple things we might do here, but one thing I wanted to talk about that I thought was kind of interesting that I had never heard of before, and that is the Peasants' Revolt of 1381.
How did you come across? You say like, oh, I just found this interesting. I never heard of this before. Like it's something that someone posted on your Instagram.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
where did you come across this that sparked this interest?
I came across this.
'Cause I'm familiar with the other Peasants' Revolts, but not the
Not
1381.
the not the 1381.
You know, the
yeah.
1300s is sort of my blind spot when it
yeah.
comes to peasant revolt history.
So I had come across this by accident, just reading about how historically massive like pandemics and different things that have had massive influences on society have changed the economy, basically.
Okay.
And so in 1381, this was like right after the Black Death, the big one, as they like to call it, which I think was like in the 1340s. And so this was basically in England. In 1381, the lower classes of southern England began a titanic class struggle against the aristocracy, demanding justice for those who labored and to build a land where, quote, everything be common. So like we don't have this anymore, but back then during a like feudalist society, there were large swaths of land called the commons.
Okay.
Where everybody just kind of, it belonged to everybody. And,
Right.
like,
It was just sort of a free for all.
Exactly. It was like not a place where anybody reigned or anybody had power, anybody, and slowly but surely with private property coming in and like, lords and serfs, like lords took that over and got rid of the commons.
Right. Yeah. Because it was capital for them to.
Exactly.
We talked about that.
Take it, you can build a little something on it and start making money for it. But this revolt was pretty fucking crazy, and they got pretty far. So basically, they wanted to negotiate with King Richard II, to end serfdom, pardon criminals who.
Can we define serfdom?
Sure.
Being a serf?
Yeah, in feudalistic
Working the land?
society, you had to basically whoever owned land had power.
Right.
And that power was backed up by the monarchy, right? And the military and the church and all that shit.
It was all kind of part of the monarchy at that point.
All part of the monarchy. And so basically, if you owned 20 acres of land, you could allow serfs to live and work on that land, but they would have to pay you taxes on top of paying taxes to the monarchy.
Right.
But those taxes are basically would be like if you, let's say you sold cantaloupe, you'd have to give a certain percentage of your cantaloupe, famous British cantaloupe. You would have to give that certain percentage to the lords,
right?
And that makes you like a
so
serf.
you're working their land,
yes.
So they probably claim that everything that you plant, grow, mine, chop is theirs anyway.
Correct.
You then have what you have as an asset of whatever you've done.
Yes.
You have to provide them because it's theirs.
Yep.
A percentage, almost like a tithe of property or a tithe of item, right?
Yeah.
And then you also have to provide the monarch. So it's the king and then the owner. So two things you have to pay out.
Absolutely.
But you get to live there.
Yeah.
And you
get to live there.
There's no water involved at all. No waves. Interesting.
No. It's not SURF. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. There's no this isn't surfing. This isn't.
And there's no the ex-presidents Robin Banks were also surfers.
No, this is not Point Break.
Point Break.
Yes.
Point Break. Yeah. No.
Okay.
That's
All right,
something completely different.
I'm all caught up then.
Really good questions.
Again,
good questions.
1300s is sort of a blank spot. Yeah.
Yes.
No, he would have known if it was the other
This
one.
was the 1460s
Yeah.
President's Revolt.
Oh yeah.
All right, so they're pissed off. They want to end serfdom. They no longer want
to end serfdom.
They no longer want to, which means they want to still live there.
Yes,
but they want to own the property that they live on.
Totally. And they don't want to have to pay taxes. They want more commons area, because the other thing is, like, on the commons, like, you could grow shit, right? Like you could go in the commons area and you could have a little garden for your community. And you wouldn't have to pay anybody a tax.
What was the size of the commons versus the size of the property that was owned by
the properties, I guess, would be
like a
different
percentage?
sizes. I don't know. That's a good question.
My guess would be the commons would have to be larger just because of the land.
Yeah,
we haven't
for
development
sure.
settled. They hadn't necessarily colonized every.
And
square
also
footage.
the commons
Was
would
it
be
shifting?
shared by a lot of different. Like, if you belong to one lord and I belong to another lord, and Jake we all might share the commons.
Right.
So I would imagine the commons would be much bigger.
Because, I mean, if you think about every old, think about old fantasy and old medieval stories and stuff we've heard, it's always like, there's the forest. You go through the forest to go from one land to the other. Nobody owns that forest.
But
anything can happen.
In Robin Hood times, it was the king's forest because he hunted a deer on the king's forest.
That's true, but
and he was trying to get the ghosts of Sherwood out of there.
He was a very specific king who owned a very specific.
He wasn't even the king. The king was off fighting, and he was just the sheriff, right?
Was that Richard II?
Yeah, the first.
Richard the
Lionheart,
First
right?
was the Lionheart
during the Crusades. I think.
Crusades. Okay, so this was Richard II. So
I only know the
Sean Connery from
same.
Yeah.
Prince of Thieves.
Prince of Thieves. Kevin Costner.
Perfect accent he has.
Yeah,
great movie.
Hello, California accent.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all?
Talking ironically, spoke like a surfer.
Yeah.
That's how he read it as, I'm a surf.
Right.
Okay, I'll do the accent. I can do it.
Morgan Freeman was in that as a Moor.
That's right.
Yeah.
All All right, so yeah, so we're the stage is set for the
The
uprising.
stage is set, and one of the things I think that's cool about this is like it is one of the early documented sort of like uprisings.
Oh, gotcha. So this is
in
like
Europe.
the first revolution that we kind of have
yeah.
written.
Totally. And this is like, I'm sure there were others in like ancient Rome
of
and that
course.
sort of thing, but I guess this is kind of like more modern Europe.
Japan,
modern
I'm sure,
Europe.
China,
I'm
sure
sure.
there's
Yeah,
tons.
I bet. But we live in the West, and we get a lot of Western history. But they straight up just marched. I mean, they weren't fucking around. They straight up marched into they broke into the Tower of London, and they just started fucking beheading people.
Jeez,
Like-
what do we? I know that this might not be information we have, but I'm curious. Like, how many people do you think? How many of these serfs are there? How many people do you think
Oh, good
of these
question.
commoners or whatever you would call
Well,
them?
if this is after the plague,
right.
This is
the population
been
of the
thinned.
Earth
yeah.
has
They've been
been
thinned
thinned
out.
out.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's like a third or something. right,
Totally.
of the-
But you
Europe?
still have to assume they're wildly outnumbered. Meaning the
Oh,
monarch,
yeah,
the
yes,
monarch
yes,
being
yes.
outnumbered.
The ruling class is always
Right,
wildly
yeah,
outnumbered.
yeah.
They're
So
always the minority, right?
Even if the plague had wiped out most of these the workers, the common folk, the serfs,
Yeah.
you got to assume that they're still outnumbering them 10 to 1 maybe.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. At least,
Right.
yeah.
So this all arises. This is really interesting. So in the after there was a huge labor shortage, after 1349, which was when the Black Death like really hit.
Sure.
And the laborers, all of these landowners died. Right, a lot of laborers died, but a lot of landowners
Sure.
died too. A lot of lords. And the laborers were like, "Hey, these guys are fucking dead. Like, maybe we can change some shit. Maybe we can own some
Right.
shit. Maybe we can
Opportunity.
Absolutely." And the monarchy was like, "Here's the middle finger. Go fuck yourself."
It was nice of them to put it that way at
Yeah.
first. Here is the middle finger.
Yep.
But then they followed up with go
Because
fuck
of
yourselves.
leprosy, they just handed them their middle finger.
And so in response, what they did was the monarch tightened everything. They restricted the serfs' mobility. They made them have to stay. They capped their wages. They made them stay on their land. They prevented them from going to the commons. And this created like massive amounts of tension and resentment and all these things.
I mean, it sounds like a form of slavery. They really truly
Absolutely.
enslaved them.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was I'm curious because now the gap between technology of like what the government's weapons is and what the
Right.
are, I wonder it was probably pretty close though. Like it was all swords.
It's equal, totally.
you know,
Right,
so it's like the
totally.
one. Maybe there's like stone versus metal.
Right,
maybe. I
right.
don't know.
Yeah.
exactly,
or like
or
or
bronze
or
versus
more
iron.
so what I would argue is it's less about weaponry and more about defensive things. I bet you
Ah.
they didn't have shielding.
catapults.
Right.
No, I meant like
Trebuchets.
physical armor, like
Oh,
armor.
I see armor.
Yeah,
I
like-
think you meant like at the
Well, that too. They probably did have
like
more
Yeah.
ways to do damage from
more
distance.
arrows.
You honestly, it's
Yeah,
scale.
It's
Yeah,
probably just more.
It is. I bet you it is. They probably have
It's-
way more arrows.
scale.
They're like
yeah.
better made.
Yeah.
they also probably have built a defensive facility.
Yeah.
So even though they marched right into
Turrets.
the tower, they were also probably had a disadvantage because they didn't have high ground. They didn't
Those
have-
narrow. I think those. I read somewhere that those narrow staircases and towers are so you couldn't use a sword.
Oh.
Really?
So you had to use knives and stuff because you couldn't swing.
So Errol
it was-
Flynn has been
it was
lying to
defense-
us.
It was defensive.
Wow,
to have like
interesting.
narrow hallways
Because you couldn't swing, right?
You couldn't swing your sword.
You could only
yeah.
jab.
Yeah.
That's why they got so good at fencing.
That's crazy. I did
That's
not know
yeah.
that. That's so interesting. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Really, I mean, really, like, swords are so fucking cool.
I wish we were a sword culture.
I know. If we were a sword cult, I mean, like, I'd be totally fine if we all just carried swords around. That'd be pretty cool.
I'm pro second point 2 amendment, which is the right to
Yeah.
bear swords.
Yeah.
Would you? What kind of sword would you? What kind
Yeah,
of
what's
sword
your
guy would
what's
you?
your sword of choice?
It's a good question. Like, you
I
know,
think I'd rock a katana.
Would you?
Oh,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
did. Yeah, those are so cool.
they are cool. I definitely don't think that I have the body type for a big ass heavy
Would
sword.
do like a
Sword?
broadsword.
No,
No,
I did.
broadswords. No
No
double
broads.
handed.
Just
No.
walking around with it would be annoying.
It'd be so annoying. I'd want something lightweight,
Like a
something
little-
practical.
yeah.
Maybe maybe
Like a
I just
cutlass?
go dagger.
Like
I
a-
might just go like long
Oh, well,
dagger.
that's not a sword then.
That's not a
We-
sword, my
yeah.
friend. Come
Is there
on.
not long daggers, swords? Is that not a thing?
No.
No, it's just dagger and sword are two
Dagger
different
is
things.
a medium knife.
Okay.
Dagger's a
Gotcha.
little like point, like it's just for stabbing. I don't even know if it
Gotcha.
has an edge.
Okay.
Then
I would go with whatever the musketeers used. I don't know.
Like
that's,
an
a cut-
épée?
that's a cutlass.
Is that
Oh,
what
oh
they
no,
are?
like a rapier.
oh yeah,
right.
I like those. Those
Oh,
are fun.
little, yeah.
I could see you with that.
Low light, low, not too heavy, easy on the wrist. I like that.
Well, we figured it out.
What about
We
you?
figured out. I said I'm a cutlass. I want to do like a cutlass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's like a classic,
Which
all
one is
purpose.
that?
Cutlass, they sort of look like maybe like a pirate sword, or
Yeah.
it's got,
That's
it's the
not
kind that
cool.
has
But
the
not
handle.
curved.
No, not entirely curved. A cutlass
Yeah.
is generally not curved. It's like it's not as long as a long sword, not as short as a short sword. Right in the middle.
It's like
I
a
like
Goldilocks sword.
I like
That's
that.
just right.
So yeah, and so basically, there's not a whole lot of information here, but basically, because I was trying to find how many, and I really couldn't find that information, but they did go in. Basically, everything just kept building. The tension kept building between the serfs and everybody. So they just went into the Tower of London. They beheaded basically everybody but the king, the chancellor, the archbishop.
On the spot, or they take him off and behead him?
It says neither. It just says that they broke into the Tower of London and they beheaded the leading figures of the realm, including the head of the church, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the head of the country, Chancellor of England, Simon Sudbury. And then basically Richard had to accept some of the rebels' demands. And this was kind of the real sort of like opening starting point of where feudalism started to be questioned.
Interesting.
Obviously it wouldn't fully end until the French Revolution.
When was the Magna
Enlightenment.
Carta? When was the Magna Carta?
The Magna Carta was in the 1200s, so this is like another.
Oh, this is after.
This
okay.
is this is after.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
after,
yeah.
I think the Magna Carta is like 1240 or something.
Okay, because that was the first thing that kind of started to take away a little bit of the king's power.
Yep,
right?
totally, and a lot of our constitution is based off
Yeah.
that document. But I just thought it was interesting because it, like, we were talking on last week's episode about the transition, and we were even talking about we may never see the end of capitalism, or capitalism might destroy the world first. But this is an example of like 1381 was like the beginning of like it showed the first chink in the armor, I think, of feudalism. And then, the French Revolution would kind of put the death knell in there,
Right.
what, like 400 years later or something like that?
Wow.
So it's
And they
pretty
perfected
interesting.
the decapitation too with the guillotine.
They sure did.
Man, they got it down to like boom. I mean, that's the way to do it.
That is the way to do it.
One
One fell
done. I
swoop.
bet those beheadings in the 1380s were long,
Lot of
dull swords,
slicing.
a lot of
Oh.
just like sawing.
Yeah,
I think
sawing.
Like there has to be a better way, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think the French were like, "There is one. We
Yeah.
have a big weighted thing. We will cut
if-
our head off in one."
I like the idea.
100%.
I like the idea of the people, the French guy who invented the guillotine, doing like an infomercial, and it's like a black and white footage of like
Yeah.
an old
Are you sick of
an old Englishman trying
sawing
to
off
saw.
your king's
Yeah.
head?
There
Yeah.
must be a better way. Introducing
Yeah.
the guillotine. It slices, it dices. For yours for only 6 payments of $29.99. I mean, kudos
It's
to
interesting.
the surf uprising. What did you call this specific?
Surfs up.
Peasants. It's the Peasants Uprising of 1381.
Peasants Uprising, yeah.
For our listeners, if you
And-
want to do more research into it.
And so essentially he buckles, he
does.
caves under their commands.
Yeah.
And what do they get? What do they get?
get some of their liberties back. This was also the start of the introduction of like a little bit. He allowed a little bit of economic freedom. Like we were talking last week about like every time the world switches economic structures,
Yes.
a new group of people gain a level of freedom and liberty in their lives. And so he started to give what we would call like the bourgeoisie kind of class, the bankers, the merchants, like started to give them a little bit more freedom and a little bit more ability to make money without having to give it to these lords.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, it created a little bit of financial independence.
Yeah, totally.
For the people.
Yeah, and
Get a little nest egg going.
get a little nest egg.
Plan a vacation
Yeah.
down to the Sweden or some shit. Whatever the fuck was around back then. I don't know.
I bet you a vacation to Sweden in the 1300s would be like
Death
3
Death
years.
sentence. Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like,
It's like
I'm
you'll
going
never-
on vacation for 3 years, you guys. See you
Why
later.
would you do that? Please come back. Consider the children.
Yeah. Most vacations are just like, 2 miles away.
So, all right, sans storming castles and decapitations.
Yeah.
How does the Peasants Uprising inspire where we are now as a society about the problems of the modern day working class? What is the equivalent of storming the castle and beheading people without actually doing that?
I give up. What?
Oh, I don't have the
I
answer.
thought you were
I'm just posing the questions.
I mean, that's a great question, and there's so many different theories about, there are some theories, and some people do believe the only answer is violence.
Yeah.
And the only answer historically has been violence, and that we can't vote our way out of this. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to really, I guess, know.
Right.
That I get that. There is also a very probably naive part of me that doesn't want that to be true.
Right. I agree. I mean, I feel like, and it might just be our generation, like our age group. We are the rock the vote age.
Yeah.
Where it was just so like,
vote or die.
oh yeah, the voter, like that was so
Yeah.
ingrained in me
Totally.
as a teenager. And everything that, Puff Daddy and the Red Hot Chili Peppers did to teach me that voting is important.
Yeah.
Or, like the stars of that era. It's so ingrained in me that I'm just like this hopeful, like optimist of like,
Yeah.
you guys, all you got to do is just get out there. If we got there, all of our
Totally.
problems will be fixed if we all just vote. And the reality is, voter turnout was greater than it ever was in 2016, and we ended up with fucking Trump.
Yeah.
So the reality is we need to vote in the right way, and that's where the issue comes from. Are we enough of a left-leaning progressive society to where if we actually do quote rock the vote,
Yeah.
that we can behead them at the polls? Oh God, I sound like I'm running a politician's company.
Yeah, behead them at the polls. I think my view personally is that the people are absolutely, if you look at polling and that sort of thing, 70, you could probably argue 70% of the country is in some way progressive, as you put it, wanting some sort
Right.
of justice for
Change
human
driven.
beings. Yeah. But the question really is like, but we don't live, what we live in is, it's a duopoly of two parties that basically have figured out how to continue to control and keep everything so similar. The Democrats are reformists. They think capitalism can just be kind of managed. The Republicans just want unmanaged, unfettered capitalism, but there's no other. Those are your two options. And there's a lot of belief that that a democracy and capitalism can never fully exist together, because once you make a certain amount of money, you can always influence democracy, and you can
Right.
always influence the market, and always get your interests represented. So how is that democratic? How is that? So,
Right.
I don't know. Historically, I mean, even the most recent revolutions in Russia and China, massive revolutions were insanely violent that led to
Right.
civil wars that existed for decades. Like, so I don't know.
I
It's a
will
good
say though,
question.
the big difference here is something that Matt brought up when we first brought this up, is the technology gap.
yeah,
is way different now.
yeah.
They got eagles and dolphins coming
Yeah.
after us.
Seriously, got
No
an army
kidding.
of ants, army of controlled
Army
ants.
Yeah.
ants.
I
one
think-
country's got Komodo dragons. We're like, come on.
I
of
love
that.
that country.
They're endangered. There's like 6 of them in
Yeah.
the whole.
There's like 6, and it takes
James Sylvania.
a month for you to die.
But I do think though that's
A
gonna
month.
be the big difference, is that
Yeah.
I don't think violence is possible. Like
Yeah.
even if we were like, let's say alternate history, Trump never left. He didn't acknowledge Biden's victory.
What do you mean alternate history? This is history.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah,
legitimately
yeah.
though, like where we ended up in a proper dictatorship.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the Constitution's out the window. All of a sudden it does not matter that we didn't vote, he wasn't voted for, and all of that is gone. It would fall to the higher ups in government below the monarch, in our instance,
Totally.
King Trump, to disobey his orders.
Yeah.
Because the reality is no. And this is the argument for people that are like Second Amendment diehards, where it's like, oh, we need to protect ourselves from the government. Trust me, you're not. Even your AR-15 isn't going to do shit when
Yes, they have helicopters.
They have
drone
fucking
strike.
helicopters.
Yeah, when
Like they have a fucking
they have unmanned drones.
Apache helicopters are the scariest. Like,
They're insane.
Yeah.
So the idea being that
With,
like
like Gatling guns and
Yeah.
shit and missiles and
so the idea being that
sonar.
in that hypothetical situation, do the people actually stand a chance against America's military?
No.
Or does America's military even bother? Or are they also like, oh no, we also don't want this guy because we believe in the Constitution?
totally.
Which is also why I think
Well, the military is also made up of like I think that's the thing. It's like
Sure.
there are people
Right.
there who
Right.
are related to the people that they're attacking. Like there is going to be a
course.
breakdown, and it's
Yeah.
not just.
And there is, that's another theory. There is another theory that the next revolution in America will come, like any sort of like pro-worker thing will have to come through the military.
right.
Will have to come through some sort of like
How ironic
rogue
though.
general. Like
Right.
yeah.
Of all the things to like help the
Totally.
working class, we need the
Yeah.
military to really step up.
And personally, like I've always believed in dual power. We've talked about that
Yeah,
before.
like
It's
one of
like
our first episodes.
building
Yeah.
a power structure that rivals the power of the government, so that it paralyzes the power that capitalist party have, ruling class have, so that they don't get to have carte blanche of
Free
whatever
reign,
they want.
yeah.
Right.
To me, I think like that's our best chance. But like who knows?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
for now we remain serfs. And
just a
maybe
bunch
one
of
day
serfs.
we'll get that change.
Check out that peasant.
Yeah, but by the
revolt,
way, when I
1381.
searched Peasant Uprising, 1381 was the first one that came up. So it is the most popular one.
It's a big one.
I'm a little. I don't like to.
It's a big one.
Also
Also known as-
contrarian. I don't like what's cool.
Peasants Revolt.
What's most popular. Okay, I like what I like.
Yeah.
Also known as Wat Tyler's Rebellion is what it was called.
Oh.
Wat Tyler's Rebellion, the Peasants Revolt. Well, there you have it. We hope that you won't revolt against checking out goodworkpod.com, where you can find, I'm a goddamn professional, where you can find merch, support the show by snagging yourself a mug or a mask or a t-shirt. Good high quality stuff. Great way to
We
support
got
the show.
masks.
Yeah, there's Good Work masks in the shop.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
So yes, you can find official merchandise there at goodworkpod.com. You know what else you can find there? Links to the social media accounts of at least James and myself, as well as the show at goodworkpod on Twitter. And of course, a link to the Discord community, which I urge you to join. And, it's completely free. It is just a message board like one of yesteryear, in which you get to hang out and chat all things labor and more with other listeners and hosts, all at goodworkpod.com.
And you can email us at goodworkpod@gmail.com or call the Good Work voicemail box at 929-256-5151. 929-256-5151. You can let us know what your I quit stories are, or you almost quit, like the Masked Llama. You can
Your fired stories.
your fired
Yeah.
stories, your just shitty job stories.
Maybe you were a part of the peasant revolution in 1381. Maybe
and
you
you fell
remember.
through through
Yeah.
a time slip.
The time. Yeah, that's right.
What animal would you use in your army?
Oh, that's a
Oh,
good question.
it's a great question.
That's a great question. What
And
animal?
why? You can't just say
yes.
donkey.
Yeah.
I need a why. I know they're stubborn and strong.
Details.
Um,
Details. It's all about the details.
Donkey's an interesting choice. Also, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/goodworkpod. We'll be putting up some bonus material pretty soon for you guys. We're also going to be having some cool guests on pretty soon to talk about previous jobs that they've held.
Time and a half.
So you're going to want to check those segments out for sure.
Well, that'll do it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. Good work.
Good work.
Dragon Wagon.